Can you find peace in a place that doesn't physically exist? We're talking about the Metaverse, a digital realm often associated with chaos and gaming. But what if I told you there are hidden sanctuaries within this virtual world, designed specifically for your inner peace and mindfulness? Get ready to explore the surprising truth about finding serenity in simulated realities. But first, we have our night ritual to attend to. Hello, and welcome. I'm your night librarian. So glad you're here tonight. I hope you don't mind. I've put on some relaxing music for you. It should begin shortly, softly in the background. Let's take a moment to slow down together. There's nothing you need to do, and nowhere you need to be. Let's light up the candle. Just a small, warm glow, steady and comforting. Take a gentle breath in and let it go. Tonight, we'll be talking about something simple, something calm, something that you can drift in and out of as you rest. You don't need to stay awake. Just listen, relax, and allow yourself to fall asleep whenever you're ready. This library grows with its travelers. If these stories help you rest, subscribing helps us grow and guides other sleepless souls here. A like or a quiet comment is always appreciated. But for now, all you need to do is relax. The library is quiet. The candle is lit. Settle in. Get comfortable. And allow your eyes to grow heavy. Wherever you are right now, allow yourself to settle into this moment. Feel the surface beneath you supporting your weight. Notice the rhythm of your breathing, natural and unhurried. There's nowhere you need to be, nothing you need to do except listen and breathe. Tonight, we're going to explore something that might seem contradictory at first. We're going to talk about finding peace in technology, about discovering mindfulness in virtual spaces, about the unexpected serenity that can emerge from digital realms. And I know what you might be thinking. Technology, peace. These words don't usually appear in the same sentence. Do they? We've been conditioned to see them as opposites. Technology is stress, notifications, the blue light that keeps us awake. Peace is nature, silence, disconnection. Technology pulls us away from ourselves. Peace brings us back. This is the narrative we've all internalized. The story we tell ourselves every time we promise to take a digital detox or spend less time on our screens. But what if this narrative is incomplete? What if technology, like any tool humanity has ever created, is neither inherently good nor bad, but simply a reflection of how we choose to use it? Tonight, as you drift towards sleep, I want to invite you to consider a different possibility, a gentler possibility, one where technology becomes not an escape from peace, but a pathway toward it. Take another slow breath. Let your body sink a little deeper into relaxation. The question we're exploring tonight is profound, and there's no rush to answer it. We have time. All the time you need. The question is this: are we truly escaping by going deeper into technology? Or are we discovering new pathways to peace that our ancestors never could have imagined? Let's start by acknowledging something honest and true. We are tired. So many of us are exhausted by the very technology that was supposed to make our lives easier. Our phones buzz with urgency. Our inboxes overflow. Social media feeds scroll endlessly, an infinite stream of other people's lives, other people's opinions, other people's curated moments of joy or outrage. We carry the weight of constant connectivity, the burden of being always available, always online, always performing. This fatigue is real. Your experience of it is valid. The stress you feel when you hear that notification sound, the anxiety that rises when you see your screen time report, the guilt that accompanies another evening lost to mindless scrolling. All of this is real, and it matters. But here's what's also true. Technology itself isn't the source of this suffering. The suffering comes from how we've been taught to engage with it. We've turned our devices into weapons of self-harm, tools of comparison and inadequacy, portals to a world that never sleeps and therefore never lets us sleep either. We've allowed corporations to gamify our attention, to turn our focus into a commodity to be bought and sold. We've let the loudest voices on the internet convince us that peace is found by logging off, by rejecting the digital, by returning to some imagined simpler time. And yes, sometimes unplugging is exactly what we need. Sometimes the most mindful thing we can do is close the laptop, silence the phone, and step outside. There's profound wisdom in knowing when to disconnect. But what if that's not the only answer? What if we've been asking the wrong question entirely? Breathe with me now, in through your nose, filling your lungs completely. Hold for just a moment, and release, slowly, letting go of any tension you're holding. The metaverse. The word itself might conjure images of cartoon avatars, of gaming headsets and expensive technology, of Mark Zuckerberg's ambitious rebranding of an entire social media empire. You might think of science fiction, of virtual reality experiences that seem gimmicky or frivolous. You might wonder what any of this has to do with mindfulness, with peace, with the kind of deep rest your body and mind are craving right now. Let me tell you a story. It's the story of a woman named Sarah. She lives in a city that never quite stops humming, where sirens wail at 3 in the morning and neighbors argue through thin walls. Sarah works long hours at a job that drains her, commuting on crowded trains where personal space is a luxury no one can afford. She struggles with anxiety, with the kind that makes her chest tight and her thoughts spiral. She's tried meditation apps, but the voice recordings feel artificial. She's tried yoga classes, but the studios are expensive and the commute adds another layer of stress to her already overfull schedule. One evening, exhausted and desperate, Sarah puts on a virtual reality headset a friend lent her. She's skeptical. This seems like the opposite of what she needs, doesn't it? More screens, more technology, more escape into the artificial when what she really needs is connection to something real. But Sarah is tired enough to try anything, so she loads an application someone recommended. It's a virtual meditation space, a digital sanctuary, and when the world resolves around her, she finds herself standing in a forest that doesn't exist. The trees tower above her, their branches swaying gently in a breeze she can't physically feel but somehow senses. Light filters through the canopy in shafts of gold and green. There's a path ahead, soft with moss and fallen leaves. She can hear water in the distance, the gentle murmur of a stream. Birds call from the branches. The air itself seems to glow. Sarah takes a virtual step forward, and something unexpected happens. She cries, not from sadness, but from relief, because for the first time in months, maybe years, she feels held. She feels safe, in this place that doesn't physically exist, in this forest born from code and imagination. Sarah finds something she couldn't find in the physical world. She finds sanctuary. Is Sarah escaping? That's the question, isn't it? Is she running away from her real life, her real problems, her real world? Or is she doing something different? Is she finding a tool that helps her access a state of peace that the circumstances of her physical life have made nearly impossible to reach? Let your eyes grow heavy now. There's no need to fight sleep. Let it come if it wants to. The metaverse, at its most basic level, is simply a collective term for immersive digital spaces. It's virtual reality, yes, but it's also augmented reality. It's online worlds where people gather, create, explore. It's three-dimensional environments that respond to our presence. It's spaces built from light and mathematics that somehow feel real when we enter them. And within this broad category of digital spaces, something unexpected is growing. Quietly, without much fanfare, developers and designers and meditation teachers and mental health professionals are creating virtual sanctuaries. Places specifically designed not for excitement or competition or social performance, but for peace, for rest, for the kind of mindfulness that our nervous systems are craving. These aren't the loud, chaotic spaces you might associate with the internet. They're different. They're intentional. Imagine meditation gardens where the only sound is water and wind. Vast, empty deserts where you can walk for hours without encountering another soul. Underwater realms where you float weightless among bioluminescent creatures. Mountaintop temples where you can watch digital sunrises that respond to your breathing, growing brighter as you inhale, softer as you exhale. Spaces that exist solely to help you find stillness. The people creating these environments understand something important. They understand that peace isn't about the physical versus the digital. Peace is about the state of our nervous system. Peace is about creating conditions where our overworked minds can finally rest. Take another breath. Feel your body becoming heavier, more relaxed. Let's think about this more deeply, but gently. No strain required, just consideration. The way you might watch clouds drift across the sky. For all of human history, we've used tools to alter our consciousness and access different states of being. We've used music, rhythm, dance. We've used art and architecture. We've used substances, some harmful, some sacred. We've used prayer and meditation and ritual. We've gathered in specific places, temples, cathedrals, stone circles, groves, because we understood that environment shapes experience, that certain spaces help us access parts of ourselves that everyday life keeps locked away. The metaverse is, in many ways, just the latest tool in this ancient human project. It's another way of creating sacred space, of designing environments specifically meant to shift our consciousness toward peace. peace. The technology is new, but the intention is as old as humanity itself. And here's what's remarkable about this particular tool: its accessibility. You don't need to live near a beautiful forest to walk through virtual trees. You don't need wealth to access a virtual meditation retreat. You don't need to be able-bodied to climb a virtual mountain. You don't need good weather or daylight or any particular physical circumstance. The virtual sanctuary is there whenever you need it, regardless of where you are or what limitations your body or circumstances might impose. This matters more than we might initially realize. Think about all the barriers that exist between people and peace in the physical world. Geography, economics, disability, time, safety. For someone living in a dangerous neighborhood, a late-night walk to clear their mind isn't an option. For someone with chronic pain, attending an in-person meditation class might be impossible. For someone working 3 jobs, the time and money required for a retreat might as well be a fantasy. Virtual sanctuaries don't eliminate all barriers, of course. They require technology, internet access, some degree of digital literacy, but they dramatically lower many of the barriers that have traditionally existed between humans and the spaces we need for healing. Your breathing is slowing now. That's good. That's exactly right. But let's address the skepticism head-on, because it's valid and worth exploring. Isn't this just another form of escapism? Isn't virtual peace somehow less real, less valuable than physical peace? If we're finding serenity in simulated realities, are we just avoiding the hard work of making our actual lives more peaceful? These are important questions, and they deserve honest answers. First, let's consider what we mean by real. When Sarah stood in that virtual forest and felt her anxiety ease, when her breathing deepened and her shoulders relaxed, was her experience any less real because the trees were made of pixels? Her nervous system didn't know the difference. Her body responded to the sensory experience, the visual beauty, the spatial depth, the gentle sounds, with genuine relaxation. The peace she felt was neurologically, physiologically real. It activated the same parts of her brain and nervous system that a physical forest would have activated. Our brains are incredibly sophisticated, but they are also, in some ways, remarkably simple. They respond to sensory input. They process visual information, auditory information, spatial information. When these inputs signal safety, beauty, calm, our nervous system responds accordingly. It doesn't matter whether the source of those signals is photons bouncing off physical trees or photons emitted from a screen. The experience of peace, the state of calm, the activation of our parasympathetic nervous system, all of this is real. Let your jaw relax. Let your tongue rest gently in your mouth. Release any tension you're holding in your face. But there's something deeper here, something worth considering as you drift towards sleep. The question of escapism assumes that there's something wrong with seeking respite from difficulty. It assumes that we should be able to process and handle everything life throws at us without ever needing a break, a refuge, a moment of relief. This is not only unrealistic, it's harmful. We all need sanctuary sometimes. We all need spaces where we can let down our guard, where we can rest, where the demands of the world recede for a moment and we can simply be. This isn't weakness. This is wisdom. This is how we survive. Our ancestors understood this. They created festivals and Sabbaths, designated times when normal life paused and people could restore themselves. They built temples and sacred groves, places set apart from daily life where different rules applied. They told stories around fires, losing themselves in narratives that offered both escape from and insight into their lived experiences. We're not so different. We still need these rhythms, these spaces, these moments of restoration. The form has changed, but the need remains constant. And if a virtual sanctuary can provide that space for someone who otherwise has no access to respite, how is that escape? How is that not, instead, a lifeline? Your body knows how to rest. Trust it. Let go a little more. Here's another truth worth considering. Sometimes what looks like escape is actually perspective. Sometimes we need to step away from our immediate circumstances, not to avoid them, but to see them more clearly. Sometimes distance, even artificial distance, gives us the clarity we need to return to our challenges with renewed wisdom and energy. Virtual sanctuaries can offer this. They can give us a place to process, to breathe, to remember who we are beneath all the stress and noise. And then, when we remove the headset or close the application, we return to physical reality slightly changed. Slightly more centered, slightly more capable of handling what we need to handle. This isn't avoidance. This is resourcefulness. This is using the tools available to us to maintain our mental and emotional health in a world that constantly challenges it. Think about it this way. If someone takes medication for depression or anxiety, we don't typically accuse them of escaping reality. We recognize that they're using a tool to help regulate their brain chemistry so they can engage more fully with life. If someone sees a therapist, we don't call it escapism. We understand that they're creating space to process difficult things so they can show up more authentically in their relationships. Virtual sanctuaries can function similarly. They are tools for regulation, for restoration, for remembering how peace feels so that we can carry that knowledge back into our daily lives. Let your shoulders drop away from your ears. Let gravity pull you down, supported and safe. But there's something else happening in these virtual spaces. Something that goes beyond individual healing. There's community forming. People are gathering in these digital sanctuaries not just to be alone, but to be alone together. They are finding others who understand their need for peace, who share their exhaustion with the chaos of modern life, who want something different from their online experiences. In some virtual meditation spaces, you can see other practitioners represented as simple, glowing forms. You're not truly alone, but you're not burdened with social performance either. You can sit in meditation knowing others are sitting with you. A global Sangha connected across impossible distances. There's something powerful in this. Something that honors both our need for solitude and our deep human need for connection. In other spaces, people gather to practice together, to share techniques, to support each other's journey toward inner peace. These aren't the toxic, performative online spaces that drain us. These are intentional communities built around shared values of mindfulness and growth. They are digital versions of the meditation circles and spiritual communities that humans have been forming for millennia. And here's what's beautiful about this. Someone living in a place where they are isolated, where they're the only person they know who's interested in meditation or mindfulness, can suddenly find themselves part of a community. They can receive guidance from teachers they could never physically access. They can practice alongside others who share their commitment without having to leave their home. Is this escaping from connection or discovering new forms of it? Is this retreating from community or building it in the only way currently available? Your breath is so gentle now, barely rippling the surface of your consciousness. Let's consider one more dimension of this question, and then we'll let you drift into deeper rest. Let's think about what happens when we reject the binary thinking that pits technology against peace, virtual against real, digital against authentic. What if both things can be true? What if we can recognize the legitimate harm that thoughtless technology use causes while also acknowledging the potential for technology to support our well-being? What if we can critique the extractive, attention-harvesting model of most social media while celebrating the developers and creators who are building something different, something genuinely helpful? What if we can hold the complexity? What if the answer isn't to escape deeper into technology or to reject it entirely, but to become more intentional about how we engage with it? To choose carefully which digital spaces we enter and why? To use technology as a tool in service of our values rather than as a force that controls us? This is the real question, isn't it? Not whether virtual sanctuaries are good or bad, real or fake, escape or discovery. The question is whether we can develop wisdom about our relationship with technology, whether we can become discerning, intentional, clear about what serves us and what doesn't. Sarah, from our earliest story, still has to navigate her difficult job in her loud apartment and her anxiety. The virtual forest doesn't make those challenges disappear, but it gives her a tool. It gives her a place to reset her nervous system when everything feels overwhelming. It reminds her what peace feels like so she can recognize and seek it in her physical life too. It becomes part of her practice, her path toward greater well-being. She's not escaping her life. She's finding a way to live it more sustainably. And maybe that's the answer to our question. Maybe we're not escaping by going deeper into technology. Maybe we're not discovering new pathways to peace either. Not really. Maybe we're discovering that the pathways to peace have always been the same. Stillness, awareness, compassion, community, beauty, rest. And we're simply learning to access them through whatever means our particular time and circumstances provide. The tool is new, but the truth it points toward is ancient. Peace has always been available to us, waiting patiently for us to remember how to find it. Sometimes we find it in a physical forest. Sometimes we find it in a virtual one. Sometimes we find it in the space between our thoughts. Sometimes we find it in the presence of others. Sometimes we find it in solitude. What matters is that we find it. What matters is that we give ourselves permission to use whatever tools actually help us access the peace we need. without shame, without judgment, without the burden of someone else's idea of what's authentic or real or valid. Your body is so relaxed now, hovering at the edge of sleep. This is exactly where you're meant to be. As this first segment comes to a close, I want to leave you with one final thought, soft as a whisper, gentle as breath. You don't have to figure any of this out right now. You don't have to decide whether virtual sanctuaries are right for you, whether technology can be a tool for peace, whether you're escaping or discovering. You don't have to have answers. All you have to do right now is rest. All you have to do is breathe. All you have to do is trust that you're exactly where you need to be, doing exactly what you need to do, which is simply allowing your body and mind to restore themselves. The question of technology and peace will be there tomorrow. The metaverse will be there tomorrow. The choices about how you want to engage with digital spaces will be there tomorrow. Tonight, there's only this moment, this breath, this gentle descent into sleep. You are safe. You are held. Whether in physical space or virtual space or the vast interior space of your own consciousness, peace is always available to you. It's your birthright. It's your nature. It's what you return to when you let everything else fall away. So let it fall away now. Let the questions fall away. Let the need to understand fall away. Let the weight of the day, the week, the year fall away. Let yourself be held by this moment, by this quiet, by the darkness that cradles you. The virtual and the real, the technological and the natural, the escape and the discovery, all of these distinctions blur at the edges. All of these boundaries are more permeable than we think. And in the space between them, in the liminal place where categories dissolve, there's only experience. There is only the direct knowing of peace or the absence of peace. There is only this breath, this heartbeat, this precious moment of being alive and aware and ready to rest. Trust the process. Trust your need for sanctuary, however you find it. Trust that peace is real whether the place you discover it is made of molecules or mathematics, whether the forest is grown from soil or code. Trust that you deserve rest. You deserve restoration. You deserve spaces where you can lay down your burdens and remember the stillness at your core. And as you drift now, as sleep pulls you deeper into its embrace, know that whether you're navigating physical sanctuaries or virtual ones, whether you're finding peace through ancient methods or new technologies, you're always coming home. Home to yourself. Home to the quiet that exists beneath all noise. Home to the peace that was never truly lost, only temporarily forgotten. Rest now. Sleep deeply. Let yourself be held by the knowledge that peace is possible, that sanctuary exists, that you are worthy of both, and that the path to them, whatever form it takes, is always, ultimately, the path back to your own heart. Breathe, release, rest. You're safe here. You're safe. And with that, we'll let this first segment close, and we'll let you sleep, knowing that the exploration continues. But for now, for this moment, there's nothing you need to do except rest in the questions, rest in the possibility, rest in the simple, profound peace of being exactly where you are. Good night. Sleep well. May you find sanctuary in whatever form you need it, and may you wake restored, renewed, and ready to continue this journey toward peace. Welcome back to this gentle space of rest and exploration. If you're continuing from the first segment, allow yourself to settle once more. If you're just joining us now, take a moment to arrive fully. Notice where your body makes contact with the surface beneath you. Feel the weight of your limbs, heavy and relaxed. There's nowhere else you need to be. Breathe with me. And slowly, filling your lungs with calm, and out, releasing anything you don't need to carry into this moment. In our last segment, we explored a fundamental question about whether engaging with technology brings us closer to peace or further from it. We met Sarah in her virtual forest. We considered the possibility that virtual sanctuaries might be tools for well-being rather than obstacles to it. And we left space for the complexity, for the both and rather than the either or. Tonight, in this second segment, we're going to explore something equally important. We're going to examine the skepticism that surrounds digital mindfulness. Because that skepticism is real and it's valid and it deserves our attention. We're going to understand where it comes from, why it matters, and why, slowly but surely, it's beginning to evolve into something more nuanced, more open, more curious. And we're going to do all of this gently, without urgency, with the understanding that you are here primarily to rest, and any insights that come are simply gentle gifts along the way. Let your eyes grow heavy. Let your jaw release any tension it's holding. Here's a truth that needs acknowledging. When digital mindfulness first emerged, when meditation apps appeared in app stores and virtual reality wellness experiences started being developed, the skepticism was immediate and intense. And much of it came from a place of deep wisdom, from people who understood mindfulness not as a trend but as a sacred practice, a discipline that had been refined over thousands of years. These skeptics asked important questions. Can you really meditate while staring at a screen? Isn't the whole point of mindfulness to disconnect from technology, not to embrace it more fully? Doesn't the commercialization of meditation through apps and platforms fundamentally betray the essence of the practice? How can you find presence while immersed in a virtual reality that is, by definition, not present reality? These weren't cynical questions. These were questions from people who cared deeply about the integrity of contemplative practices, who had seen too many sacred things commodified and stripped of their meaning, who worried that the technology industry would do to mindfulness what it had done to so many other aspects of human life. Turn it into a product, monetize it, optimize it, measure it, and in the process, destroy the very thing that made it valuable. Take another breath. Feel your body sinking deeper into relaxation. Let me tell you about a meditation teacher named James. He's been practicing for 30 years, teaching for 20. He learned mindfulness in the traditional way, sitting for hours in silent meditation halls, attending rigorous retreats where participants spent days without speaking, technology locked away, nothing but breath and awareness and the slowly unfolding revelation of what it means to be truly present. When James first heard about meditation apps, he laughed, not cruelly, but with the gentle amusement of someone who knows how far removed a phone notification is from true silence. When students started coming to his classes talking about their favorite meditation apps, tracking their meditation streaks, showing him their progress charts, he felt something between sadness and concern. This wasn't meditation, he thought. This was meditation's shadow, meditation's corpse dressed up in appealing clothes and sold back to people who didn't know any better. This was the technology industry doing what it always does, identifying something humans need and then creating a dependency on a product that supposedly meets that need while actually just creating new problems. And James wasn't wrong. Not entirely. His concerns were rooted in legitimate observations about how technology had changed human behavior, how it had shortened attention spans and increased anxiety, and created a culture of constant measurement and optimization that was antithetical to the acceptance and surrender at the heart of genuine mindfulness practice. But something interesting happened to James over the years. Something that surprised him. Let your breathing become even softer now, barely noticeable, like a whisper of wind. James had a student named Marcus. Marcus was young, in his early 20s, dealing with severe depression and anxiety. He'd heard that meditation might help, so he started coming to James's classes. But Marcus struggled. He couldn't sit still. His mind raced. The silence of the meditation hall felt oppressive, amplifying his anxious thoughts rather than calming them. He'd leave class feeling worse than when he arrived, convinced that meditation just wasn't for him, that he was somehow too broken for even this to help. James encouraged him to keep trying, but after a few months, Marcus stopped coming. James assumed that was the end of it, that Marcus had given up, that meditation would remain one more thing he'd tried and failed at. But a year later, Marcus came back. He looked different, calmer, more grounded. He thanked James for introducing him to meditation and told him that he'd been practicing every day for the past 6 months. James was surprised and pleased, but also confused. If Marcus had been practicing, why hadn't he been coming to class? Marcus explained. He'd discovered a meditation app, one that offered guided meditations ranging from 3 minutes to an hour. He'd started with the 3-minute sessions, which felt manageable. The voice guiding him helped keep his mind from spiraling. The ability to practice in his own apartment, where he felt safe, removed the social anxiety he'd felt in class. The tracking feature, which James would have dismissed as antithetical to mindfulness, actually motivated Marcus. Seeing his streak grow gave him something to hold on to on days when depression made everything feel pointless. Slowly, Marcus built a practice. 3 minutes became 5, then 10, then 20. He graduated from guided meditations to silent ones. He learned what James had been trying to teach him, but he learned it through a medium that met him where he was, that accommodated his particular challenges and needs. And now Marcus was back in James's class, able to sit in silence, able to engage with the practice in the traditional way. But he got there through the app. The technology didn't replace the deeper practice. It created a bridge to it. James tells this story now when he talks about digital mindfulness. He tells it with humility, with an acknowledgement that his initial skepticism, while understandable, was incomplete. Your body is so relaxed now, so ready for rest. Just let my words wash over you. This is one of the key reasons why skepticism around digital mindfulness is evolving. People like James are discovering that the relationship between technology and contemplative practice is more complex than the simple binary of good versus bad, authentic versus corrupted. They are learning that for some people, in some contexts, digital tools can be genuine pathways to deeper practice rather than substitutes for it. But let's dig deeper into the specific concerns, because understanding them helps us see why they are evolving. Let's be gentle with the skepticism. Let's honor it even as we examine it. One of the primary concerns has always been about presence. Mindfulness, at its core, is about being fully present to this moment, this experience, this breath. It's about direct, unmediated awareness of what is actually happening right now. And screens, by their very nature, seem to mediate our experience. They create a layer between us and reality. They pull our attention away from the immediate physical world into a constructed, artificial one. This concern makes perfect sense. We've all experienced how scrolling through social media disconnects us from our surroundings, how watching television can make hours disappear, how easy it is to be physically in one place while mentally absorbed in the glowing rectangle in our hand. Technology has trained us in distraction, in fragmented attention, in being anywhere but here. So how could this same technology possibly support mindfulness? Let your thoughts drift like clouds. Don't hold on to anything. Just rest. Here's where the evolution begins. What people are discovering is that the technology itself isn't inherently distracting or present-focused. It's how we design it and how we use it that determines its effect on our awareness. A social media feed is designed to scatter your attention, to pull you from one thing to another, to activate your reward circuits and keep you scrolling. It's engineered for distraction, but a meditation app can be designed differently. It can be built to support sustained attention, to guide you gently back when your mind wanders, to create conditions for presence rather than fragmented. A virtual reality experience can be overwhelming, chaotic, full of stimuli competing for your attention. Or it can be spare, simple, designed to create a sense of spaciousness and calm. It can offer fewer distractions than the physical world rather than more. The key insight is this: presence isn't about the medium. Presence is about the quality of attention we bring to our experience. You can be completely absent while sitting in a beautiful forest, mind caught in loops of worry and planning. And you can be remarkably present while engaged with a thoughtfully designed digital environment that supports your awareness rather than hijacking it. This is what the research is starting to show. And this is why skepticism is softening among people who look at the evidence rather than just the ideology. Your breath is so gentle, so easy. Everything is exactly as it should be. Another major concern has been about authenticity. Traditional mindfulness practices come from specific cultural and spiritual contexts. They were developed by Buddhist monks and teachers over centuries, refined through direct experience and passed down through lineages. They carry wisdom that goes far beyond simple stress reduction. When these practices get translated into apps and virtual experiences, something is lost. The depth, the context, the connection to a lineage and tradition. What remains is often just a technique stripped of its meaning. Mindfulness reduced to a productivity tool, a way to make workers more efficient or consumers more compliant. This concern is not only valid, it's crucial. The commodification of spiritual practices is real, and it does real harm. When mindfulness becomes just another product to buy, when it's marketed as a quick fix rather than a profound path of transformation, when corporations use meditation to help workers tolerate intolerable working conditions rather than addressing those conditions, we should absolutely be concerned. But here's what's also true, and what's causing the skepticism to evolve. Not all digital mindfulness is commodified in this way. Not all apps and virtual experiences are shallow or exploitative. Some are created by genuine practitioners and teachers who understand the deeper dimensions of contemplative practice and are trying to make those teachings more accessible. Some apps offer not just meditation timers but extensive teachings on Buddhist philosophy, on the ethical dimensions of mindfulness, on the relationship between personal practice and social engagement. Some virtual reality experiences are created in collaboration with monastics and longtime practitioners who ensure that the technology serves the practice rather than corrupting it. And perhaps most importantly, some practitioners are using digital tools as a supplement to rather than a replacement for deeper engagement with contemplative traditions. They use an app for daily practice but also attend retreats, study with teachers, engage with the philosophical and ethical dimensions of the path. The technology becomes one tool among many, not the totality of their practice. Let yourself drift deeper. There's no need to hold on to these words. Just let them flow through you. There's also been concern about measurement and gamification. Many meditation apps track your practice, award badges for streaks, encourage you to meditate longer or more frequently. This feels antithetical to mindfulness, which is fundamentally about acceptance of what is rather than striving for what should be. The concern is that by making meditation into something we achieve and measure, we turn it into one more form of self-improvement, one more way to judge ourselves as succeeding or failing, one more arena for the ego to perform in. We miss the point entirely. And yes, this can happen. The competitive meditator, proudly displaying their 1,000-day streak, more attached to their identity as someone who meditates than to the actual practice of awareness, is a real phenomenon. The gamification of mindfulness can feed the very ego that mindfulness is meant to help us see through. But here again, the picture is more nuanced than it first appears. For some people, in some phases of their practice, measurement and tracking can be genuinely helpful, not as ends in themselves, but as supports for developing the habit of practice. Remember Marcus, James's student. The tracking feature helped him establish a daily practice when his depression made motivation nearly impossible. The streak wasn't the point. but it gave him something to hold on to, a visible reminder that he was showing up for himself even when everything felt hopeless. Eventually, he cared less about the streak and more about the practice itself. The gamification was training wheels, not the destination. And this is what teachers and developers are learning. Gamification isn't inherently bad or good. It's a tool that can be used skillfully or unskillfully. When it's used to hook people and keep them dependent on the app, it's problematic. When it's used to help people develop beneficial habits that they'll eventually internalize and no longer need external support for, it can be genuinely useful. Your body knows how to rest. Trust it completely. Let go of any effort. Let's talk about another dimension of the skepticism, one that goes deeper than concerns about specific features or design choices. There's a broader worry about what it means when we increasingly live our lives through digital mediation, when our experiences are filtered through screens and algorithms, when we spend more time in virtual spaces than physical ones. The concern is about the loss of embodiment, of direct sensory experience, of connection to the natural world and to other human beings in all their messy, immediate reality. The concern is that virtual sanctuaries, no matter how peaceful they are, contribute to our disconnection from the physical world, from our bodies, from the earth that sustains us. This is perhaps the most profound concern, and it's one that doesn't have a simple answer, because it's true that we are becoming increasingly disembodied, that we are losing touch with the physical world, that this loss has consequences for our well-being and for the health of the planet. But let's sit with the complexity. Let's breathe into it rather than away from it. The question is whether virtual sanctuaries contribute to this problem, or whether they can be part of addressing it. And the answer, as you might expect by now, is that it depends. If someone uses virtual reality as a substitute for ever going outside, forever engaging with the physical world, forever sitting with the discomfort of being in a body that hurts or a life that's difficult, then yes, that's problematic. That's disconnection masquerading as connection. But if someone uses a virtual sanctuary to remember what peace feels like, to learn how to regulate their nervous system, to develop skills of awareness and presence that they then carry back into their physical life, then something different is happening. The virtual space becomes a teacher, a guide, a reminder of capacities that exist within them independent of any technology. Let your awareness expand. Notice the space around you, the silence, the stillness. Some of the most interesting developments in digital mindfulness are explicitly focused on reconnecting people with embodiment in the physical world. There are apps that guide you through body scans, teaching you to bring awareness to physical sensations. There are augmented reality experiences that overlay mindfulness prompts onto your actual environment, encouraging you to notice the beauty of the physical place you're in rather than replacing it with something else. There are virtual reality experiences designed not to transport you somewhere else, but to teach you skills you can use anywhere. You might practice breath awareness in a virtual environment where you can see your breath visualized, where you can receive real-time feedback about your nervous system. But the goal isn't to become dependent on that visualization. The goal is to learn what regulation feels like so you can recognize and cultivate it without the technology. This is where the skepticism is evolving most significantly. People are realizing that the relationship between digital tools and embodiment isn't zero-sum. It's not that every minute spent in virtual space is a minute stolen from physical presence. Sometimes, especially for people who are deeply disconnected from their bodies or their capacity for peace, virtual tools can be bridges back to embodiment rather than escapes from it. Think about someone with chronic pain who has learned to dissociate from their body as a survival mechanism. Traditional body-based meditation might be overwhelming, triggering, impossible, but a virtual environment that feels safe, where they can gradually learn to bring awareness to sensation without being flooded by pain, might give them a way back to their body that wouldn't otherwise exist. Think about someone who grew up in an urban environment with no access to nature, who feels anxious and unsafe in natural spaces because they are unfamiliar. A virtual forest might be their first experience of what peace in nature feels like, the beginning of curiosity that eventually leads them to seek out physical natural spaces. The virtual isn't always a replacement. Sometimes it's an introduction, a teacher, a bridge. Rest more deeply now. Let sleep come closer. There's no need to fight it. Here's another reason the skepticism is evolving. The science is catching up, and what it's showing is surprising to many of the skeptics. Studies are finding that virtual reality meditation experiences can produce similar physiological effects to traditional meditation. Heart rate variability improves. Cortisol levels decrease. Brain scans show activation patterns associated with relaxation and present moment awareness. People report genuine experiences of peace, of stillness, of insight. This doesn't mean virtual meditation is identical to traditional practices. It doesn't mean it should replace them. But it does mean that the dismissive attitude of "this can't possibly work" is being challenged by evidence that, for many people, in many contexts, it does work. Research is also showing something else. For people who struggle with traditional meditation, digital tools can make the practice accessible in ways that nothing else does. People with ADHD who can't sit still for traditional meditation find that engaging environments help them sustain attention. People with trauma who find silence triggering appreciate guided meditations that keep them anchored. People with visual processing differences find that visualizations help them understand concepts that verbal instructions alone don't convey. Accessibility is turning out to be one of the most important factors in why skepticism is softening. Because what good is a perfect, authentic, traditional practice if large numbers of people can't access it? What good is purity if it creates barriers that keep people from finding the help they need? This doesn't mean anything goes, that all digital mindfulness is equally valuable, that we should abandon discernment. It means we need to be honest about who traditional approaches serve well and who they leave behind. And we need to be open to innovations that bring the benefits of contemplative practice to more people. Your mind is quiet now. Thoughts like distant birds, barely audible. Rest in this quiet. Let's consider the role of community in this evolution of skepticism. One of the criticisms of digital mindfulness has been that it's solitary, that it replaces the rich experience of practicing in community with isolated individuals staring at screens. And there's truth in this. Something is lost when we meditate alone in our apartments rather than gathering in sanghas, in meditation halls, in circles where we can see and be seen by others who share this path. The encouragement, the accountability, the shared energy, the wisdom that comes from elder practitioners, the relationships that develop, all of this matters profoundly. But here again, the landscape is more complex than it first appears. Digital spaces are enabling new forms of community, ones that wouldn't exist otherwise. Someone living in a rural area with no local meditation groups can connect with practitioners around the world. Someone whose work schedule makes attending in-person classes impossible can join livestream sessions. Someone who feels intimidated by traditional meditation spaces or marginalized within them can find online communities where they feel safe and welcome. These digital communities aren't perfect. They lack the full richness of in-person connection. But for many people, they are vastly better than isolation. They are making it possible for people to feel less alone in their practice, to learn from teachers they'd never otherwise access, to find encouragement and support when they need it. And some digital communities are finding creative ways to bridge the physical and virtual. Groups that meet primarily online organize occasional in-person retreats. Apps connect local users so they can practice together in person. Hybrid models emerge where people attend physical classes but also stay connected through digital platforms between sessions. The evolution here is toward integration rather than replacement, toward using digital tools to strengthen and supplement physical community rather than substitute for it. Breathe so gently now, in and out like the tide, natural and effortless. There's one more dimension of skepticism that's been evolving, and it's perhaps the most personal. It's the skepticism we carry about ourselves, about our own capacity to use technology wisely, to engage with digital tools without being consumed by them. Many of us have complicated relationships with technology. We've felt its pull, its addictiveness. We've lost hours to scrolling. We've felt the anxiety of notification overload. We've tried and failed to set boundaries. We don't trust ourselves around screens because we've learned through painful experience that our self-control is limited, that once we start, it's hard to stop. So when someone suggests using technology for mindfulness, we're skeptical not of the tool but of ourselves. We're worried that we'll start with good intentions. I'll just use this meditation app for 10 minutes, and end up back in the familiar patterns of compulsive use. This skepticism is deeply understandable and absolutely valid. Self-knowledge about our vulnerabilities is wisdom, not weakness. But here's what people are discovering. Not all technology triggers the same patterns. The apps and experiences designed to grab your attention and keep it through variable rewards and infinite scrolling are fundamentally different from tools designed to support presence and then release you back into your life. A meditation app that guides you through a practice and then closes, that doesn't send you notifications unless you explicitly want them, that has no social comparison features or infinite content to scroll through, is a different kind of technology than social media. It requires different skills and triggers different responses. People are learning that they can develop more nuanced relationships with technology, that they can create boundaries around the tools that harm them while engaging with tools that help. It's not all or nothing. It's not either embrace everything digital or reject it all. It's discernment, practice, learning through trial and error what supports well-being and what undermines it. And interestingly, mindfulness itself, whether practiced through digital means or traditional ones, helps develop exactly this capacity for discernment, this ability to notice our patterns and make conscious choices rather than being driven by compulsion. So digital mindfulness tools can actually help people develop a healthier relationship with technology generally. They can be part of learning to use screens intentionally rather than addictively, to engage with the digital world as conscious agents rather than passive consumers. Everything is soft now. Your body, your breath, your mind. Everything's soft and easy. The skepticism around digital mindfulness isn't gone, and nor should it be. Healthy skepticism, critical thinking, careful discernment, these remain essential. We should continue to question, to examine, to push back against the commodification of spiritual practices and the ways technology can harm us. But the skepticism is evolving from a reflexive rejection toward something more nuanced. It's becoming a set of important questions rather than a closed door. It's making space for evidence and experience rather than relying solely on ideology or assumptions. The questions now are different. Not can digital tools support mindfulness, but under what conditions do they support it? For whom? In what contexts? With what limitations and cautions? Not is this authentic, but how do we honor the depth of contemplative traditions while making their benefits more accessible? How do we innovate without betraying essential wisdom? Not are we escaping, but how do we ensure that digital tools serve genuine well-being rather than creating new forms of dependency? These are better questions, more useful questions, questions that open doors rather than close them, that make space for continued learning and evolution. Sleep is so close now. Let yourself cross that threshold. Let go. As we close this second segment, I want to acknowledge something important. You may have your own skepticism about digital mindfulness. You may have tried apps that didn't help. You may have strong feelings about technology and its role in our lives. You may know, deep in your bones, that what you need is less screen time, not more. All of this is valid. Honor your own experience. Trust your own wisdom about what serves you. The point of this segment isn't to convince you that digital mindfulness is right for you. The point is simply to explore how and why our collective understanding of these tools is evolving, to make space for complexity and nuance, to recognize that different approaches serve different people in different seasons of life. The point is to invite curiosity over certainty, exploration over rigid adherence to positions that may no longer serve us. And the point, always, is to remember that the ultimate goal isn't the tool. It's the peace the tool might help us access. It's the well-being, the presence, the capacity to meet our lives with greater awareness and compassion. Whether we get there through ancient practices or modern innovations, through solitary meditation or digital community, through traditional teachers or virtual guides, what matters is that we get there. What matters is that we find our way home to ourselves, to peace, to the stillness that exists beneath all the noise. Rest now in that stillness. Rest in the knowing that you're exactly where you need to be, that the path is unfolding as it should, that there's no rush, no urgency, nothing to figure out right now. The skepticism can rest too. The questions can rest. Everything can rest. You are safe. You are held. And as you drift into sleep, may you trust that whatever tools you need for your own journey toward peace will make themselves known to you. May you be free from judgment about the paths you've taken or not taken. May you rest in the deep knowing that your seeking itself is sacred, regardless of the form it takes. Breathe, release, sleep. The exploration continues, but for now, there is only rest, only this gentle fading into dreams, only the peace that was always here, waiting patiently for you to remember. Good night. Sleep deeply. May you wake with clarity about your own path, your own truth, your own unique way of finding peace in this complex, beautiful, challenging world. Welcome to this final segment of our journey together. Take a deep breath and settle into this moment. Whether you've been with us through all three segments or you're just joining now, allow yourself to arrive fully. Feel the weight of your body. Notice the gentle rise and fall of your chest. Let your eyes soften and close if they haven't already. We've traveled together through questions of whether technology can support peace, through the evolution of skepticism and doubt, through complexity and nuance. And now, as we move toward the deepest rest, we're going to gently explore what digital sanctuaries actually are in this moment, in 2026. In the real world where people are creating and discovering these spaces. There's no test at the end of this. No need to remember details. Just let the images and ideas wash over you like waves, gentle and rhythmic, carrying you towards sleep. Breathe in slowly. Breathe out even more slowly. Let go. So what is a digital sanctuary? Let's start with the simplest definition, the one that holds the essence without any technical complexity. A digital sanctuary is a space created through technology that's designed specifically to support your well-being, your peace, your capacity to rest and restore yourself. It's an environment built from code and creativity that exists to give you refuge from everything that depletes you. That's all it is. That's all it needs to be. But let's explore what this actually looks like. what it feels like, what people are discovering as they step into these spaces. Let's paint some pictures with words, soft and gentle, like describing dreams. Your breathing is becoming slower, deeper. That's perfect. That's exactly right. Imagine this. You put on a virtual reality headset, or you open an application on your phone, or you step into an augmented reality experience through glasses that overlay the digital onto the physical world. And suddenly, you're somewhere else. Not physically, of course. Your body remains exactly where it is. But your perception, your awareness, your sense of space, these shift. You might find yourself in a forest glade where impossible butterflies made of light drift through the air. The trees around you respond to your breath, their leaves shimmering brighter as you inhale, settling into deeper greens as you exhale. There's a path before you, and you know somehow that you can walk it for as long as you need, that it will never end, that you're completely safe here. Or perhaps you're floating in an endless ocean, weightless and suspended. The water is warm, impossibly clear. Below you, geometric patterns of light pulse gently in rhythm with your heartbeat. Above you, stars wheel slowly across a twilight sky that never quite becomes night. There's no up or down here, no orientation except the perfect, peaceful suspension in this moment. Maybe you're in a temple that no hands have built, carved from pure crystal or growing organically from living stone. The space is vast but not overwhelming, intimate but not confining. Light filters through in colors that don't exist in the physical spectrum, shades of peace and quiet and rest. You can sit here, you can stand, you can lie down. The space adjusts to you, reading your needs without judgment, offering exactly what you require. Let your body sink deeper into the surface beneath you. Let gravity pull you down, safe and held. These aren't game environments. They are not places where you complete tasks or achieve goals or compete with others. They are not designed to stimulate or excite or entertain. They are designed for one thing only, to help your nervous system remember what peace feels like. In 2026, digital sanctuaries have evolved far beyond the early meditation apps with their simple timers and generic nature sounds. The technology has become more sophisticated, yes, but more importantly, the understanding of what people need has deepened. The designers creating these spaces are often practitioners themselves, meditation teachers, therapists, artists, people who understand that technology is just a tool and the real work is creating an experience that genuinely serves healing. Some digital sanctuaries are guided experiences. A voice, gentle, unhurried, kind, walks you through a meditation or a visualization. But the voice doesn't dominate. It's woven into the environment, emerging when you need guidance and fading into silence when you need stillness. The guidance adapts to where you are, how you're responding, what you seem to need in this particular moment. Other sanctuaries are completely silent, offering nothing but space and beauty and time. These are for people who know their own practice, who don't need instruction, who simply need a place to be that's free from the thousand demands of ordinary life. Your thoughts are drifting now, loosely connected, barely forming. This is good. Let them drift. Let me describe some specific types of digital sanctuaries that exist in 2026, painting pictures that might become dreams as you fall asleep. There are breath gardens. These are environments that visualize your breathing in real time, using senses that track the rhythm and depth of each breath. As you inhale, light expands through the space. Flowers bloom, stars brighten, water rises in fountains of liquid crystal. As you exhale, everything settles, softens, returns to stillness. The environment becomes a mirror of your inner state, teaching you through beauty and sensation what words alone could never convey. People use breath gardens to learn regulation, to practice extending their exhales, to find a rhythm that soothes their particular nervous system. But they also use them simply to rest, to watch their breathing made visible, to feel less alone in the simple act of being alive. There are memory palaces, but not the kind used for memorization. These are spaces where you can place difficult emotions, traumatic memories, anxieties about the future. You create a container for them, a box, a room, a distant mountain, and you place what's troubling you there, not to avoid it or suppress it, but to create some distance, some perspective, to say, I see you, I acknowledge you, but I don't have to carry you right now. These spaces are often used in conjunction with therapy, created collaboratively between a person and their therapist. They become external representations of internal processes, making the invisible visible and therefore more manageable. Let your jaw go completely slack. Let your tongue rest gently. Release any tension in your face. There are pilgrimage paths. These are journeys through digital landscapes that unfold over time, that you can't rush through, that require patience and presence. You might walk a mountain path that takes weeks to complete, a few minutes each day, the landscape slowly shifting with the seasons. You might follow a river from its source in high peaks down to the ocean, the environment teaching you about letting go, about flow, about the way everything eventually returns to the sea. These paths aren't trying to substitute for physical pilgrimages or nature walks. They are offering something different, a practice of consistency, of showing up day after day, of witnessing gradual change, of learning that some journeys can't be hurried. For people who are housebound, who are caregiving, who are dealing with chronic illness or disability, these virtual pilgrimages offer a way to move through space and time that their physical circumstances might not allow. There are community meditation halls. These are virtual spaces where people gather from around the world to sit in silence together. You see others represented as simple forms, spheres of gentle light, perhaps, or abstract human shapes. You can't see faces or identifying details. There's no social performance, no comparison, no hierarchy, just presence. You sit together in silence, or you practice together with guidance from a teacher, and there's power in this. The same power that has always existed in Sangha meditation circles. The knowledge that you're not alone, that others are walking this path with you, that your individual practice is held within something larger. Some of these halls are scheduled. people gathering at specific times. Others are always open, always occupied, so that whenever you arrive, day or night, someone else is there, sitting, breathing, being. Everything is becoming softer now, the edges blurring, thoughts and images flowing into one another. There are grief sanctuaries. These are perhaps the most tender of all digital spaces, designed for people who are mourning, who are heartbroken, who need a place to bring their sorrow. These spaces understand that grief needs to be honored, not fixed. They offer beauty and gentleness in time. You might enter a twilight garden where you can plant flowers for those you've lost, where you can sit by a quiet pool and watch the ripples, where you can cry without anyone trying to make it better. The space just holds you. It witnesses your pain. It reminds you that grief is love with nowhere to go, and that both the grief and the love are sacred. Some grief sanctuaries include gentle rituals, lighting virtual candles, releasing paper boats on a stream, writing messages that dissolve into starlight. These aren't substitutes for physical rituals, but for some people, in some moments, they offer a way to externalize what feels unbearable to hold inside. There are anxiety refuges. These are spaces specifically designed for moments of panic, of overwhelm, of fight or flight activation. They are grounding environments that engage your senses, that give your racing mind something safe to focus on. One popular refuge is a rain room. You're inside a shelter while rain falls all around you. Steady, rhythmic, endless. You can hear it. In virtual reality, you can almost feel it. The drumming on the roof, the curtains of water, the gray light. It's hypnotic. It's soothing. It gives your activated nervous system a rhythm to synchronize with. Another is a counting garden where objects appear and disappear in patterns. 5 stones, then 4, then 3. Your mind, desperate for something to grip onto, grabs the counting task, and in doing so, it pulls you out of the panic spiral, gives you something concrete and manageable. These spaces don't cure anxiety, but they offer tools for moments of crisis, ways to interrupt the escalation, bridges back to a calmer state. Your breathing is so soft now, barely there, like a sleeping child, peaceful and easy. There are creative sanctuaries where meditation and art-making blend together. You enter a space with simple tools, color, shape, texture, and you create without purpose, without judgment. You make patterns in sand that blow away in digital wind. You arrange stones in cans that topple and reform. You paint with light on walls of darkness. This is meditative art, process without product, creativity freed from the pressure to make something good or meaningful or shareable. It's creation as prayer, as presence, as a way of being with yourself that's gentle and playful and free. People emerge from these spaces often surprised by what they've made, by what their hands knew that their minds didn't, by the messages hidden in their own spontaneous creations. There are sound sanctuaries. These are environments built entirely from audio, designed for people who find visual stimulation overwhelming or who simply prefer to engage through listening. You might enter a space that's nothing but laid tones, frequencies chosen specifically to encourage relaxation, alpha and theta brainwave states. Or you might find yourself in a soundscape of natural sounds, not just recordings, but generative audio that creates unique combinations in real time. Rain that never quite repeats, wind through trees that's always fresh, ocean waves that roll in eternal variation. Some sound sanctuaries include binaural beats, frequencies that can influence brainwave patterns. Some offer singing bowls or chimes or drones. Some are silent, offering spaciousness itself as the sanctuary. The absence of noise is a profound gift in our overstimulated world. Let sleep come closer now. Don't resist it. Welcome it like an old friend. In 2026, digital sanctuaries are also becoming more personalized. Early versions offered the same experience to everyone, but newer ones adapt to individual needs and preferences. They learn what helps you, what soothes your particular nervous system, what your patterns are. One sanctuary might notice that you're most anxious in the evenings and automatically adjust its approach for night sessions. Another might recognize that you respond well to water imagery but find forest sounds overwhelming. Some use biometric feedback, heart rate, breathing patterns, even brain activity if you're using advanced headsets, to adjust in real time, becoming calmer when you're agitated, offering gentle stimulation when you're dissociating. This personalization isn't about optimization or performance. It's about meeting you where you are, recognizing that we're all different, that what soothes one person might agitate another. That healing requires individual attention even when it's delivered through technology. There are also sanctuaries designed for specific communities, recognizing that people need spaces where their particular experiences and identities are honored. There are sanctuaries created by and for people of color, spaces that acknowledge the specific trauma of racism and offer culturally relevant practices. There are sanctuaries for LGBTQ+ folks, for survivors of various forms of violence, for people with disabilities, for elders, for young people. These aren't exclusive in a negative sense. They are specific in a healing sense. Understanding that sometimes we need spaces where we don't have to explain ourselves, where our experience is understood, where we can let our guard down completely. Everything is dreamlike now. My words are becoming softer, farther away. Let them fade. What makes these spaces sanctuaries rather than just applications or games or entertainment? It's the intention behind them. It's the understanding that they exist to serve something sacred, your well-being, your peace, your journey toward wholeness. A sanctuary, whether physical or digital, is a space set apart from ordinary life. It's a place where different rules apply, where you can lay down your usual defenses and roles, where you're invited to simply be. Physical sanctuaries have always been this way. Temples and churches and meditation halls where the outside world demands pause at the threshold. Digital sanctuaries aspire to the same function. When you enter one, you're crossing a threshold from the chaos of the internet, from notifications and demands and the performance of self, into something quieter, something that asks nothing of you except your presence. The best sanctuaries in 2026 understand this. They don't track you for advertising purposes. They don't encourage you to share your experience on social media. They don't gamify your practice in ways that create competition or shame. They simply offer space and beauty and time. And then they let you go, releasing you back into your life without trying to hook you into returning. This is rare in digital spaces and precious. Your body is so heavy now, sinking, dissolving into rest. Everything is soft and safe. Of course, digital sanctuaries have limitations. They can't replace human touch, the feeling of a hand holding yours when you're suffering. They can't replace the smell of rain or the feeling of sun on your skin or the taste of good food shared with friends. They can't replace a walk in an actual forest where the air is alive and complex with scents and sounds that no technology can fully replicate. They are not meant to replace these things. They are supplements, alternatives for when these things aren't available, bridges that might lead you back to seeking them in physical form. A person who finds peace in a virtual forest might be inspired to seek out real forests. Someone who discovers the power of breathing in a digital breath garden might carry that practice into their daily life, using it on the subway or in stressful meetings or before sleep. Someone who experiences community in a virtual meditation hall might feel less alone, might build courage to seek out local sanghas. The digital sanctuary teaches. It offers a taste, a glimpse, a possibility. What you do with that teaching is up to you. Let your awareness expand to include the space around you, the darkness, the quiet. You're safe here. You're held. In 2026, we're also seeing sanctuaries that blend the digital and physical in beautiful ways. Augmented reality experiences that overlay peaceful imagery onto your actual environment, teaching you to find beauty where you are rather than transporting you somewhere else. You might look at your cluttered apartment through AR glasses and see it softened, simplified, gentled, or you might see patterns of light flowing across your walls, turning your ordinary room into a meditation space. The technology isn't hiding reality but transforming your perception of it, teaching you that sanctuary isn't just a place you go to but a way of seeing. There are sanctuaries that connect to the natural cycles of day and night, light and dark, seasons and weather. They change as the world changes, encouraging you to stay connected to natural rhythms even as you engage with technology. A sanctuary might be bright and energetic in the morning, settling into deeper quiet as evening approaches. It might reflect the actual weather where you are, or the phase of the moon, or the time of year. This is technology working with nature rather than against it, supporting your reconnect onto cycles that modern life often obscures. Your thoughts are barely forming now, dissolving before they complete. This is perfect. This is sleep approaching. Some sanctuaries in 2026 are being created collaboratively. Communities coming together to build spaces that reflect their collective needs and dreams. These are digital versions of bond raisings, group projects where people contribute their skills. Some code, some create art, some compose music, some write guided meditations, some test and offer feedback. These community-created sanctuaries often have a different quality than commercially produced ones. They are quirky, personal, full of love and attention. They are free or offered on a donation basis. They are gifts to the world from people who have been helped by sanctuaries and want to help others. There's something beautiful about this, about people using technology not for profit but for mutual care, creating digital commons where everyone is welcome, where healing is shared rather than sold. And there are sanctuaries being created in unexpected places, within hospital systems, offered to patients dealing with chronic pain or undergoing difficult treatments, within schools, giving students places to regulate their emotions and nervous systems, within prisons, offering people who have made terrible mistakes a place to practice peace, to remember their own humanity, within refugee services, creating spaces of safety for people who have fled everything familiar. The technology is spreading, diversifying, finding its way to people who need it most. Everything is fading now. The boundaries between waking and sleeping, between listening and dreaming. Let go of the distinction. Just rest. What does the future hold for digital sanctuaries? It's hard to say. And tonight, as sleep calls to you, it doesn't really matter. What matters is that right now, in this moment, people are creating spaces of peace. They are using the tools available to them, technology, creativity, intention, to build refuges in a world that desperately needs more places of rest. What matters is that whether you ever enter a digital sanctuary or not, whether this appeals to you or feels completely wrong for your path, the impulse behind these creations is the same impulse that's always driven humans toward healing. The desire to help, the recognition that we're in this together, the understanding that peace is possible, that it can be cultivated, that it can be shared. The technology will evolve. Some of what exists now will fade away. New innovations will emerge. But the need for sanctuary will remain. The human hunger for peace will continue. And people will keep creating spaces, physical and digital, traditional and innovative, ancient and emerging, to meet that need. Your only job right now is to rest, to let sleep take you, to trust that you're exactly where you need to be. The digital sanctuaries will be there tomorrow if you want to explore them. The questions about technology and peace will be there tomorrow if you want to ponder them. The journey toward healing and wholeness will continue tomorrow. But tonight, there is only this breath, this moment, this gentle fading into sleep. You have learned what you needed to learn. You have considered what you needed to consider. Now it's time to release it all, to let every word and idea and image drift away like leaves on a stream, carried by current into darkness and dreams. You are so deeply relaxed now. Your body knows what to do. Your mind knows how to let go. Sleep is here, patient and kind, waiting to gather you in its arms. Digital or physical, virtual or real, technology or nature. These distinctions blur at the edges, dissolve in the face of your fundamental need for rest. What matters is that sanctuary exists. What matters is that peace is possible. What matters is that you have permission to seek it in whatever form serves you, without judgment, without shame, without the burden of anyone else's ideas about what's right or authentic or good. Seek your sanctuary where you find it. Honor your path however it unfolds. Trust that the tools you need will come to you, and that you'll recognize them when they do. And for now, for this moment, let this quiet darkness be your sanctuary. Let this transition into sleep be your meditation. Let the simple act of resting be enough, more than enough, everything you need. The metaverse can wait. The virtual world can wait. The questions and complexities and innovations can all wait. Tonight, you are held by something older than technology, deeper than any digital space, more fundamental than any innovation. You are held by your own capacity for rest, by your body's wisdom, by the natural rhythm of consciousness fading into sleep and returning to wake. Trust this rhythm. It has carried you every night of your life. It will carry you tonight too. Breathe one more time, so gently, and as you exhale, let go of everything. Every word I've spoken, every idea you've encountered, every image I've painted. Let it all dissolve. What remains is peace. Simple, fundamental, always available. Not in any place but in you, in the quiet that exists beneath all noise, in the stillness that survives every storm. Rest in that stillness now. Sleep in that peace. Know that you are safe, you are whole, you are enough. The journey ends here, where it always ends. In silence, in darkness, in the gentle embrace of sleep. Good night. Rest deeply. May you wake refreshed, renewed, carrying forward whatever serves you from this exploration, releasing everything else with gratitude and grace. Sleep now. Just sleep. Everything is well. Everything is exactly as it should be. You are home.